Very good morning, dear student. So today I'm going to start with a Python. Python, how to do the Python, what is Python, and how we are working with a Python. That particular thing we will going to have today's discussion. So let us start. Python. What we find that we have a different types of programming languages. Okay, we set up different patterns of programming language, and those the different pattern of programming language what we find that will going to execute, that will going to carry the different tasks. Okay, and it will going to specify a specific task that is called a program. Okay, so as we have a different specific task is there, that the particular specific task what we find that all these particular specific task language instructions that we are giving, what we say that those the instructions and those the languages that we are using, that is been said as what, that is been said as a that has been said as the programming language. So we are using a different form of a programming language. We find it that we do have a different pattern of programming language, and all those different pattern of programming language what we have, that they are been defined in a certain way. Okay, they are being arranged in a certain way. So all this particular arrangement of the programming language what we have, that we find it that our computer what we are using, different types of computer, different type of machines what we are using, we find that our machines or computer understand one thing that we know very nicely, and we have read it many times, that is zeros and ones. So this is called a machine language. Okay, that is called a machine language. So as that is called a machine language, in this machine language what we find that it is a low level language that we have, isn't it? So we are having the low level language, and how we are working with this particular language, that we need to take the language, and we make in such a way so that it can be understandable by any of the human being. That means we have to make a language in such a form there we can find the thing can be, that the thing can be find that we will going to have a different types of what, different patterns of a language which is understandable by the human being. So what is our requirement? Our requirement is that we need to convert it in such a way that human language can be understood by whom, by the machine, as well as machine language can be understood by whom, by the human being. So how it can possible? That means we must have some technologies or some type of, as we have discussed in my last video, I have discussed about a compiler, interpreter, isn't it? All these particular sections I have discussed about. So those the different sections what I have discussed, you have seen it, that how they are being converted, how they are being converted into different forms of language, different types of language. So as we find it that all these different types of language what we find, as we see those different types of languages are there, that means we need this particular language to be converted with. So programming language, one of the programming language that we are very aware of, that is our Python, isn't it? That we will going to do, and as per our syllabus we do have the syllabus Python, Python pandas, Python numpy, all these things are there. This is there. Then we C++, that was previously it was C++, they are in the different courses. Now C++ is not there. Visual Basic was the more back version, PHP, Java, all these things, Java versions are there, the more easier that human can do directly and understand by both the human and the computer. So this is the thing what you can find, this is the thing what we can see, that we have a different type of language, and those the different pattern of language what we find, they are being understood, or they are needed to be understood better we can say by the human being as well as by the machines also. So what we are writing the thing, do you think in a 0 and 1 combination? No, never. We are writing it with a combination of an English alphabets. So English alphabets means what we can say, that is a high level code that we are using. So as we are using the high level code, there is a source code is there. Okay, so those the different pattern of source code what we find, those the different pattern of source that we can find here, that each of this particular source we have discussed in our previous discussion in the where we have discussed about the introduction to the computer system and technologies, where we have discussed about different type of softwares, different type of storage devices, isn't it? There I have discussed about this, and this particular thing is very common to you, where we have an translator, we have a compiler, and interpreter. Okay, this the thing is very common nowadays. Now Python, what we can find, Python is an interpreter. The differences and all has been discussed in the previous videos. Python is what, as an interpreter based language. So when it is an interpreter based language, it converts the instruction into the machine language, so that we can understood by the thing what it is been going on and how the thing is working. So interpreter language, what we say and what we find, the statement what it will going to do, it will take one line and convert one line. That means line by line, one by one, each particular part will be translated. Okay, so if there is any error in any of the line, then it can easily understood and it can be easily recognized. So this is what we can find it, this is what we can see, that we do have a full organization system. In this particular full organization system, what we are doing, we are conducting those different patterns of technologies, we are working on those different pattern of technologies, where we can find that we have a different types of a system that we are using, different type of programming language that we are using, and successfully we can do that particular work. Okay, wherever we require we are stopping, wherever we require we are executing. So those the differences what we find, those the part of differences that we are using it, what we can find it, that we are giving a complement for each of the particular structures, each of the particular thing. So compiler translation the source code as a whole, what we find, compiler will going to take the complete program of complete source code, and that will be converted into an object code. That means what we are doing from here also, again I am repeating one thing, that the source code is to be converted into object code. Again object code, when it will be processed, after processing, that will be converted into the source code. So what we find, that we are taking a program, whatever the program it is, what pattern of program, it can be a single line program, it can be a multiple line program is there. So any pattern of programs what we can find, any pattern of messages we can find, that those the different type of messages, those the different pattern of messages that we are having, that we are working on it. So each and every message is what, that there may be an error. Okay, you cannot say that you will write a program or I will write a program where we will not find any single line error. That cannot be. Okay, so there can be an error, there can be a lot of errors can be executed. So how we can rectify them, we must know that what is the requirement of that particular program is, what the program requires, and how the program is working, what the program pattern, what are the code, what are the source code, what are their different type of declarations in the program, isn't it? So if I declared it, suppose what I said you, that you are known by some particular name. Okay, so if I am not calling you by that name, I have given you another name and I am calling by that name. Sometime it will be when I go to your house and call you, all of you will look at me. Okay, and they will look at everyone, that whom the person is calling, there is no such person named by it. That means the unknown figure, unknown thing, if you want to declare, we cannot declare in such a way. That means how we can declare, first we have to give the information to your family, then only when I call, oh this name is for this particular person, this name is for this particular person, isn't it? This is the name has been given to them when they are small, so by this particular person. So what is that is now known by each one. So we have to do the work in such a way, in such a form, where we find that if you give some instruction, that instruction must be known by your program. It is not a suddenly you think whatever the instruction you will give and whatever the message you will give and that it will going to accept. Not, there is a certain format is there, there is a certain part is there. So those the certain format or certain part what is there, you will going to give those things and you will going to work on those areas. So from here what the conclusion we can derive, we can derive one conclusion that when we are widely using this particular thing, high level programming language, this particular high level programming language was developed by Guido van Rossum, okay, in the year of 1991. So what is the main purpose of it, what is the use of it? First and foremost, it is a software development program. Okay, it is a software development program. Then next what we can find, that there is a web development, that means server sites are there, for server sites web developments. Okay, next what we can find, system system what is the scripting and the mathematical operations. That is very true, that we cannot abide any program whatever we have. Like in your course I have you will going to see the different type of mathematical executions. Okay, palindrome program, etc., etc. A lot of programs are there using a loop to calculate so many things, you will going to see it. So those the things what you will going to find, that there is everywhere we have some mathematical implementation of it. Okay, so those the mathematical implementation, that how we are working it. So when we are find it, that why we use it, we say that it is easy to use. Used, why it is easy to use? Due to simple syntax rule. The syntax rule, what the syntax are being used in this particular program, using the syntax, that how you can do this particular program is in a very easy way. Okay, next what we can find, it is an interpreted language program. Interpreted language program means the codes are there, we need to execute the code. Now code, how the code are executing, we find it, the code are being executed here line by line. Okay, so as we are executing the code line by line, that means it will going to help for the programmer, that the programmer can check it out, that what is the error in a particular section. Okay, so if the complete thing is executed and ultimately it gives that there is an error, the program cannot run. So what is the error that cannot be find out? So again and again it will going to take a wastage of time. But here what happened, when it is seeing line by line, when it is finding the error line by line, that particular time what it do, it see which line there is an error and it mention that line. Suppose line number 6, the object code is not there, or the function is not working, isn't it? So you have to see on the line number 6, line number 5, line number 4. So when you see those lines, you can find out easily that what are the errors there and how you can rectify those errors. Okay, so this is what you can see, this is what you can find it, that this is what an interpreted language is. This is how we can see the interpreted language will going to work. Next what we can find, that cross platform language. Cross platform language means it can run in any of the platform that you will going to give it. That means if you take it in Windows, if you take it in Linux, if you take it in Macintosh. Okay, so equally and in an equal phase, in an equal manner, the program will going to run there. So we will not going to face any pattern of difficulties when we are running in a different platform. Next what we can find, that expressive languages. What are the expressive language? That a less code is required. Okay, not required a huge amount of codes and huge amount of write up, all these things is not required here. So what we exactly require, we exactly require to write a very less code. How much it is required? Like suppose a equals to 10, b equals to 20, sum equals to a plus b. Okay, sum equals to a plus b. So when you are writing all these things, what you find it, that we have this particular pattern of expressive language. So we are working on this particular expressive language, how we can make it much more human effective and much more smaller, so that it can be done in a very beautiful way. Okay, next what we can find, that completeness. Support support a wide range of library. Okay, you will see it when we will write a program. Sometime we call the library, sometime we will not call the library. That means default what are the library functions are there, that will going to called up, and based that it will going to work. Okay. Next, what we can find it, free and open source. So free and open source, as we say, this particular program is that it can be downloaded freely. Okay, freely we can download it and we can modify the program. We can do the different types of modification. We can improvise the program, whatever is our requirement. So all the basic requirement that we can do and that we can work with. So this is what we can see, this is what you can find it, that there are the different patterns of features that we can find. Okay, so what are the features that you can see from here? Features of the Python is a very high level language. Okay, so it is free and it is an open source language program. Number one. Number two, what we can find, it is an interpreted language. Interpreted language means Python programming language execute by interpreting. That means line by line it is interpreting and it is doing the work. Okay, line by line it is interpreting and it is doing the work. Next, what we can find it, that in this particular Python programming language, when we understand the thing as there are a very clear definite syntax is there, and as you go on doing the programming, you get it how you to create the structure, how you to work on it, all these things can be get. Now one thing there it is that Python is very sensitive language. Okay, case sensitive as well as a place sensitive language. Like a number, this number and number, NUMBR, both things are not same in a Python. They has a different type of declaration and they have a different pattern of work what they are performing. Okay, so Python, what we can find, Python is a portable and it is a platform independent. That means in any platform we can find it, any operating system, any of the hardware platform we are using, there we can find that if you give this particular Python, it will going to work. So it is reached with a library, means lot of libraries are there, many libraries are there. Okay, sometime we call the library, sometime without calling the library also we find it the program is working. Yeah, so this is what we can find. It is very helpful in web developing. That means those who are doing the web development program, in the web development program, web service program and application program, the Python is very much useful. So Python is what intention for a block and nested blockage. Okay, so block and nested blockage, when it is doing, we can find it, we can do the work with the Python. So Python, what is the shortcomings of the Python? What are the defect we can say? Lesser libraries. Some case we can find as a compiler program like C, Java, NetBeans. There are a huge libraries are there. So if you take those library and compare with a library of Python, we will find that is very less libraries are there. So all the thing doesn't support. So we have to install a new version, new part of a Python to work on it. Okay, slow language. Slow language means as it is an interpreter language, interpreter execute the program very slowly. Okay, interpreter execute the program very slowly, that is what we can say slow language. Weak and type binding. We can type binding means not pinpointed, that a single variable for a different data type. We can use a single variable for the different data type. That can also be done in a Python. As you do the Python programming, you can see that how the program is. Now how to download, I have shown you earlier. Now this is what one pattern of downloading it has given to us, that you can download by the distributing system. You can go to the www.python.org/download. From there you can download the Python version 3.6.5, but we are talking about Python XY10. So Python XY version, the latest version what is there. So downloading the Python distributors and MIS installer, which is best suit for the operating system that you want to install it. So download, you have to download only the Python distributions or MIS installer which you find best for your things. Okay, that you can do. Next, what we can find, installing the Python. If you double click on the Python icon, leveling version exe version, pop-up version is there, then it will going to give you the particular structure. If you have already have, then you will going to run it. Okay, you will click there and you can run the program. After you run the program, what you will find, that it will going to give you the pop-up, this pattern of pop-up: install now, customize. So install launcher for all user at Python 3.6. this is for the 3.6, but I have said you for the different version that has been said. This is for the 3.6. We can find it that this is the particular thing you can install and you can work with. Okay, so this is the part that you can work on. Next, what you can find it that you will going to get a different type of window will going to come, pop-up window. So you have to agree them, you have to do yes, and after you do yes, you will see Python start installing in this way. Okay, so after the Python will start installing, then at the end it will find it the setup was successful, and then it asks you to close. You do the close button. It will ask you to reinstall your machine, and after it asks you to reinstall your machine, what you find that Python icon is there in your desktop, isn't it? So thank you students. Today I am ending my this session here. Thank you all.